Traditionally, shingle roofs would be sold as like 25-year or 30-year roof. By the time you're up at around 15 years, they will start to, show some signs of age and sometimes not look as nice.
Hey, Kathy Sokolic and Ashley Jackson here with Mueller Residential Group. And today we have a special guest, our friend Garner Peterson with Mercury Exteriors. So our whole thing today was to introduce Mercury Exteriors and what services you guys provide, and then we wanted to talk about roofs.
Sounds great.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we're Mercury Exteriors. We do roofing, but we also do other work related to your exterior: painting, windows, fences, decks, pretty much anything on the outside of your house.
I didn't know y'all did fences. That's a good tip. Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. So because we've had a couple of really major hailstorms, roofs are really on people's minds. So we thought we'd kind of do an Ask Me Anything about roofs. So yeah, we got some questions.
Yeah, let's jump on in.
Yeah, take this.
Okay, thank you. So jumping into our questions, and I know this answer may vary a little bit, but how long does a roof typically last?
Yeah, so talking about shingle roofs, most of the roofs in the Mueller neighborhood are going to be kind of what used to be referred to as 30-year roofs. Now they're typically called limited lifetime. It's the warranty that the manufacturers provide. But as you know, here in Texas, we have pretty extreme weather changes. And so typically roofs don't last, by the time you're up at around 15 years, they will start to, show some signs of age and sometimes not look as nice just due to the pollen and things like that. Now, a metal roof could last 50 years, depending on the type of metal and the finish.
Okay, and I think I'm going to jump into our metal roof question. So there's kind of a commonly held belief that metal roofs are more hail resistant, and what's the reality around that?
Yeah, so in general, yes, metal holds up pretty well to hail. We had a pretty major hailstorm back in last September in the area, and then another one in Austin. And those hailstorms brought hailstones that were bigger than 2 inches. And my personal house, I have 24 gauge standing seam, really top of the line metal roof, and it was covered with dents, absolutely covered. Now, it's mostly an aesthetic thing. And so that's one thing to keep in mind with your insurance policies, is to make sure that you understand what is covered if you do have damage. Because sometimes you can have an exclusion in your policy for cosmetic damage, because the roof may not leak, however, it may not look great with lots of dents. So while they are pretty hail resistant, we are seeing some hailstorms with more significant size of stones that will damage you. The thing about shingle roofs is there's a lot of products now. They have a class rating for hail impact resistance. So the highest rating is a class 4 shingle, and we've been doing a lot of those and actually seen where they have performed very well in the last couple of hailstorms. So roofs that we installed with class 4 shingles did not sustain damage to the shingles, even some properties where skylights were broken. So it was a really good.
Yeah, that's really impressive. So the class 4 shingle, about how much extra cost is that if you're comparing it to just a regular shingle?
It kind of depends on the brands, but some of the very popular brands of just basic architectural shingles cost about the same as upgrading to a class 4 shingle in one of the brands that I really like to use. So not that big of a difference. Obviously every shingle manufacturer has lots of premium options, so you could spend more, but it's not necessarily a big upgrade. It might be as little as $500 on a roof, or it might be.
Oh, wow. Because I can think of at least 3 hail events alone since 2021, just in the urban core of Austin, so near Mueller, that I think that would be worth it. Interesting.
For
Yeah.
sure.
One
Yeah.
other point on that is sometimes your insurance companies will give you a discount on your premiums for using hail impact shingles, same as they might with metal roofs. I just advise that you always make sure you know what's being covered and that there's no exclusions because of cosmetic damage. Make sure you know that you are covered in the event that those are damaged.
Wow. Okay. That's amazing. So one question that someone had is, does the color of shingles affect the temperature inside of your house?
That's probably the most common question I get. Really, you're going to get a lot of varied opinion on this. But from what can tell in the research that I've done, there is a difference on the surface of the shingles. It's like touching a black car is going to be a lot different than touching a white car. But the transfer of that heat into your attic is kind of negligible when compared to either your attic ventilation in the case of a ventilated attic or the seal of a foamed in attic, right? So that variable has much more to do with your interior temperature than a shingle color. And you can kind of think of it as like the components of a roof. You have roof decking, you have underlayment, and you have shingles, and each one of those has like micro air gaps between them that act as an insulator, right? It's kind of like pot holders. So the transfer of that heat is not as significant because of the shingle color, right? So.
Okay. And I think that just when you talk to energy experts, one of the things you hear is that the insulation in your attic is probably the most important component of energy efficiency.
Right.
Yeah.
Insulation, and if it is a ventilated attic, the ventilation.
Right.
There are oftentimes some very low cost upgrades to attic ventilation that we can do that have a much bigger impact. Also updating older skylights that may not have as much UV protection as newer ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys do that too.
We do.
Nice. Okay. What other questions? Which one? So what can you expect when your home's roof is being replaced? Like what should one expect from that?
Yeah.
It's
So
quiet, right? It's a quiet process.
That's one thing I'm definitely very upfront with the customers about, because it is a messy, loud process to replace a roof. The good news is it can most of the time be done in a day and a half, depending on the size. Metal roofs sometimes take a little longer, but it's loud. So, with your anxious pets, you're going to maybe want to find a place for them to go for those days. If you work from home, some people love to be there and, witness the whole thing. Others, they think they do, and then they leave very soon into the process. So it's loud, it's messy. Typically materials are delivered the day before. So you've got sometimes there's a little bit of just logistics of keeping a driveway clear or something like that. You're gonna want to, if you're gonna have your roof done, you're gonna wanna make sure you don't have like valuable decor and stuff like that around the perimeter of your house. We can always help move heavy items, but a lot of debris does have to come down. We do a lot of work to try to minimize damage to landscapes or to your walls or to your neighbors' yards and that kind of thing. So we actually use like net systems to kind of enclose the house. And we'll tarp the yards, and then when we're done we do a thorough cleanup with magnets to pick up. Thousands of nails have to come off your old roof, and so we do a very thorough job with the magnets and make sure we leave it clean.
I have a follow-up on that. So what I've seen in a few homes is that some of the vents from a furnace will become dislodged. Is that common?
That is actually pretty common, because they get jostled quite a bit during the roofing process, and there's flashings that kind of protect your roof where those pipes are coming through. So it's very important that your roofer check to make sure your water heater or any other hot exhaust from your furnace or anything like that is secured before before they leave and finish the job, because you wouldn't want that venting into your attic. You can get carbon monoxide buildup.
Oh, right. That's a really good tip. I've seen that a couple of times in the neighborhood in the last few months. So we're gonna go check ours. Are we on that one?
Yeah.
Okay. What are some maintenance items that we could do ourselves to our roofs?
Probably the biggest thing is with tree canopy, you want to make sure you're having your trees trimmed at least 4 feet away from any roof surface. With the heavy winds, it can, scrape, scrape, and then and just having leaves cleaned off. Leaves can build up over time and collect in your gutters, act like a dam. Other than that, I mean, it actually is a good idea to have a roofer come look at your roof every, I'd say probably every 3 to 5 years, just because in these, in Texas with these up and down temperatures, that causes like some shrinking and swelling of materials, and it can slowly start to work nails up, especially around your flashings, around like your plumbing vents and things like that. So we see it very commonly that, nail heads have come up and just a small little penetration where water can get in and create a slow leak. So just having, also caulking around roof penetrations can also tend to degrade faster than the shingles, right? So you're going to want to have them sealed and painted every so often, every few years.
That's a really good tip.
Yeah, that's I like to call it the roof tune-up, right? Yeah. And a lot of houses that I sell need those because the sun is just absolutely baking and shrinking the caulk, and nails are popping just like you've described. That's a great pro tip. I love that. Did we miss any questions? I think we have them.
No, I think we got everything.
Well, I'll say we will do free inspections anytime, just to hop up, make sure everything's looking good. And typically like those type of maintenance items, it's like maybe like a $500 deal to go and seal up all of the vents and repaint.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for joining us today, Garner. Garner's a really good friend of ours, a very trusted vendor. Mercury Exteriors will be there for all your exterior needs, and we just really appreciate having him in our list. So, yeah. Thanks, Garner.
Thanks.